Hey, I'm Jay Martin, and we have taken a trip to the most fantastically penis-shaped map in Napoleon. This is Galacia Ria. It's a 3v3. Playing the game, this down here in the bottom left is an old friend of mine, Zee Bishop. This is a huntsman guy. He's playing as Ottoman, and his build, he has a lot of melee guys. There's about 6 of them. He has 4 cav, but otherwise pretty standard. I believe he does not have any light infantry. The Austrian in the center is Brownie, 34, I believe. Pretty, a lot of cav here. It's 6 cav for this guy. And on the right is Spain, is 16 AR, and again, a lot of cav. I think there's 5 of them. And that's the team on the bottom of the map. What I want you to look at is the big feature on this map is the hill here. That is obviously on the right side. So Spain is going to, be interested in fighting for this hill. And then the team opposite them, on the left, playing as Prussia, pretty standard. Who is this? This is Snowman, and there are some rifles hidden in there. In the center, holy cow, that's a Grand Battery of the Convention. For those of you who don't know, that's like a DLC unit. It's like super, it's like half your money, but it's got 8 guns in it. So I guess it's good. I don't think I've ever actually played with this unit. There are 2 heavy cav here. This is going to be important later. Zee said that this was obviously like a super duper newer player. There's some fusiliers, regular line. And a poor decision I think worth pointing out is he's brought some guards. He has 2 young guards and 1 guard of seamen. And these units are all very expensive. What I would do instead is I would bring like 1 old guard and 2 more regular line. Because these units are fine, but I'm kind of bullish on the young guard. I don't think they're worth the money. I would rather just have like a straight up old guard that's good, that I know is going to be good, instead of 3 kind of we're guards. I just like quantity over quality. And on the right we have an Ottoman player. What's notable about this guy is he has a lot of the Siltar guard. These are really expensive. They're really beefy. They're really strong. They're really badass. But they get tired real easy. And so you got to be careful how you use them. Props, I'm bringing the camel gunners. Always like to see that. So this is the game, and a lot of things happen in this game, and they happen very quickly. Things to keep in mind is the big artillery from the French player here in the middle. I want to say that a lot of players overreact when they say artillery. This was obviously a no artillery game, but the guy brought it anyway, and I think the Austrian is going to overreact a lot. Don't do that. The reason is that I can kill an infantry unit a lot faster with an infantry unit of my own than your cannons are going to kill one of my infantry. This is why on games that artillery is allowed, good players often don't even bother bringing artillery, because they know they can kill the artillery whenever they want with a cav unit, but they'd rather have 2 extra infantry units in their main firing line. Okay, so the first thing is if you see artillery pop up when you don't expect it, don't necessarily freak out. On the right side, the Spanish player makes a move for the hill. That's all his cav getting way in front. He can see that the Ottoman player is coming up to the hill also. The run distance is a lot shorter for this player, so the player in this position will get at the hill first if they press the run button. And you can see the Spanish player recognize that and pulls back. On the left side, Zee is moving up. The big feature on this side of the map is this house. This is sort of akin to the hill on the right. Again, this house is reachable by this player. It's closer to them. They can get there first. So what you're really expecting, I don't recall if this is, I think this is the attack. I don't even recall which side this is, but this might be the defender side. But the other team is going to get to the 2 terrain features fastest. Is kind of what you want to plan around. And you notice that Spain has some grenadiers back here. I think they expect to take a house, maybe. I don't know what they were thinking. Zee Bishop has all of his melee guys for that. Alright, so here we go. So on the right, what happens is the Ottomans make the move for the hill. Spain respects that. Spain is going to pull back to a line centered on this house right here. We're going to ignore them for a while. On the left and center, France has got a line back here. There is a house right there that's worth paying attention to. And Zee is going to come in here. This is a unit of shooter cav. Zee actually, when he sent me this game, wrote up like a 5,000-word essay describing his experience and his thoughts on the games. And he says when he got to this point, he just kind of like, oh, they actually formed square. Like he thought they were issuing a move command, and it was kind of a buggy experience. It is worth noting that unit pathing around houses is extremely buggy, or at least it was the last time I actually played a game with houses on it. So moving your units around houses is sort of awkward. What's happening here? Clever use of terrain from Zee. He gets shot at a whole bunch and only takes 7 casualties. France is still on this line here, centered by their artillery. And so a couple things happen on Zee's end here. These Bashi bazooks go in, and what I think he was trying to do, either one or two things happens here. Either A, he was trying to get them into the house and like that bugged out, but you notice the cav unit right behind him. What I think he was trying to do is get the Bashis in the melee with all these musketeers, which would mean they couldn't square, and then follow that up with the cav hit. This doesn't really work because A, this guy's going to get in the square regardless, but B, Zee takes a bunch of shots from the house. You can see he's already in 45. And I don't really see a half-strength shooter cav accomplishing a whole lot in melee with 3 units of musketeers behind him. So that was kind of the one. I don't know if that was like a misclick or whatever, but I mean, he could have just been trying to get in the damn house for all I know. But anyway, that was kind of a weird thing. Austria is moving lights into this house here. Occupying lights in a house is generally kind of a bad idea. If you think you might get attacked, look on the right. Spain is respecting the Ottomans. You notice all this... oh, no, it hasn't happened yet. It'll happen in just a minute. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Alright. So what is happening is Zee is now going to make a move to attack the house, and then he's just going to extend his line of infantry to the right here, which is exactly how you want to do it. The first Janissary unit is moving to get into the house, and he's positioning infantry to do some shooting. A little curious about this decision. These guys are just getting mowed down. He actually mentioned that in his message. He was like, or his email, he was like, dude, I totally failed to remember how much of a machine gun units and houses are, and they really are. The Janissary gets in the house, and I think the classical template for how Zee wants to play this is have just a general infantry engagement here. You can see he's moving cav units up to attack through the Austrian, take the house. With the Janissaries, kind of break them, break the house, and then move up this direction. What happens now is kind of important. The French player moves 4 units of infantry down. And it's worth noting that you see all these divots. His artillery is actually firing into the ground. His artillery isn't hitting very much. It's super inaccurate. This goes back to my players generally overreact to artillery. But, right, so the French dude moves infantry down here. What this does is it breaks this line. Hey, when in doubt, just form a straight line. You can't get in trouble if your units are just in a straight line. And this allows him to basically get flanked by the Austrian guys. So these 4 infantry units are in trouble already. These guys are kind of coming down, but they're a little late. Now what happens, you heard that big charge, is the second coming charge of the Light Brigade, totally unnecessary overreaction of all time. That was Zee's phrase, by the way. I just totally stole that. Six Lancers are going after the artillery. 6 Lancers. 6 Lancers! I want to pause. It's important to keep you updated instead of the game. Notice that all of this cav, you can see the dust. All of the Ottoman heavy cav is going to start moving around to the back of the map. Ottoman cav, move to the back of the map. Keep that in the back of your head. Alright. So, French infantry has gotten itself into a bad position. Austrian Lancers going for it. These are the Young Guard and the Seamen. Man, that's a lot of Lancers. This is completely unnecessary. 1 cav unit could have done this, maybe 2. Now what's going to happen is French guy is going to countercharge with a bunch of heavy cav. You're going to have 6 units of Lancers stuck getting shot at by a square. Actually, a couple squares. And that was completely unnecessary. This is what I'm talking about when players overreact to artillery. In the end, it wasn't necessary at all because The French player was obviously kind of new. You're going to win this infantry fight here. You could have just waited, cleared them out, charged cav from the left. This would have been fine, but a huge overreaction by the Austrian player on Zee's side. Things are continuing. What you notice he's doing is he's moving his cav to the right to get some free kills and munch on this French infantry. In the house, 2 Janissaries are winning against 2 Musketeers, and he seems to have this guy in the ropes. Zee's battle is going pretty well here. The Prussian is arguably a little disorganized. Once again, form a straight line. Can't go wrong, form a straight line. So what's happening is utter carnage. The French infantry here is about to be exacerbated by the presence of the Ottoman cavalry. All this heavy cav is moving across the map, across the back. All those Austrian lancers are trapped. I mean, not like it matters. I mean, the French guy was going to get shanked anyway. I mean, you can kind of tell pretty quickly when somebody's like brand new at the game. They're not going to cause a threat to you. I don't know why the Austrian guy goes for melee right there. At this point, I was actually starting to get a little worried for Zee, because if you notice, he's really trying to continue to attack, but like half of his infantry, these 4 line units here, lagging behind, and I was like, dude, I don't think this is quite as a sure thing as you think it is. And sure enough, I feel like this Prussian guy played a very good game. He's going to start doing some solid attrition thing. The real flaw of the Ottoman heavy cav that's in the back, you notice they're all tired, winded, tired. So, I mean, these guys pack a big punch, but they just walked all the way across the map, and I feel like they're not going to get a throw in at the time when the battle is really in flux. Like right now, because Zee is being greedy and got his cav in to melee with the French infantry over there, you know, if these 6 units of Ottoman cav came crashing down, I feel like Zee's like in a bad spot there. I mean, in his email to me, he was like, nah, I could just turn up squares everywhere. Okay, that's true, but I don't know, man. I think there's an argument to be made there that, A, if this Ottoman cav was capable of charging right now, I kind of think you'd have a problem, you know? At least I wouldn't want to be on the opposing end of that, is maybe another way to put it. But anyway, Austria is wrapping up France. It's not going to be a big deal. What is happening is Spain has decided to go for the hill. Notable about this is Turkey over here doesn't have its cav anymore. So what Spain is doing is it's running 3 cav units up on the flank. You can't really see them. They're in this forest. But what's happening is 3 Spanish cav units are going in. I can't even tell if this guy is in square or not. Yeah, he's in square. So I kind of think, again, this is an overcommitment of cav. You don't need 3 guys to charge one thing to charge 1 infantry square. I would have used 1 and pull it back when they do square. And then I think the Spanish player was a little late. If these 2 units had gotten up here like 30 seconds earlier, this would have gone a little different. Regardless, I think this is Spain's fight to take because they have cav available. The Ottoman doesn't. Spain just has way more units here. This is a really good example of being patient. I didn't give you any screen time of this, but Spain just sat here. And when Spain was confident that all of these cav units were halfway across the field, they're like, okay, we'll attack now. Yeah, sure, we'll attack now. It's easy. And Spain pushes up, and they're going to be able to... This is just a plain attrition fight. They have more units. They're going to win it. That's just solid gameplay. You know, nothing wrong with that. Check in here. Austria really got clumped up. I don't know what they're doing. I feel like Austria really made this game a lot harder on themselves than it should have been. They wasted a bunch of cav units chasing down that artillery. They got a little carried away going to melee with the French infantry when they could have just shot it out. They have double the units. Just take your time. Now, back over here, again, Zee Bishop. These are his 4 cav units that have been out slaughtering Frenchmen, which is a noble occupation. I will concede to you. But this is kind of what I was saying earlier. I feel like his attack kind of stalled out a little bit. Like most of his melee troops have kind of run their course. And there's a handful of fairly strong Prussians. There's 2 units of guards. And here come the Ottoman cav on the charge. They, I believe, catch that guy. Not in a square. Zee does do the right thing. I mean, he puts up squares, and I think with coordination between the Prussian and the Ottoman, this attack could have succeeded. So, see these two guard units here? I think if the Ottoman had put a couple of his cavalry here, and then coordinated with the Prussian guy to attack this direction, like he's kind of doing. There's some musketeers kind of going in for melee there. There's a musketeer unit, well, they're really low. But I feel like if the Ottoman had coordinated with, see, and what this guy's withdrawing right here, or right there. Like the cav is moving in. This is when you should be advancing. Like, I feel like the forces exist right here that the combination of these two players should have been able to beat Zee. But because they were really uncoordinated, that didn't happen. Now, that's kind of the nature of playing pickup games. But, you know, you type in the little window up here, you know, like, hey, I got 6 cav I brought over for you. How do you want me to use them? Or, you know, like, I feel like this game should have been winnable. Actually, I think it should have been, honestly, like they should have been able to crush Zee right here. And just running cav repetitively in squares, not really advancing. Like this unit, I mean, there's no excuse for these line units not to be in the firing line right now. Like the way that Zee phrased it to me in his messaging was like the Prussian panicked at some point. I feel maybe he's right. Like hell, maybe the guy might be AFK right now, but you know, this should have been winnable if they had brought everybody into the party at the same time. You know. Anyway, this is the wrapping up of, you know, the infantry part of the Ottoman guy. The Spanish guy just had way more troops in this field of the battle. You know, so what do I think? I think that what do I think? I think that Zee played a really strong game. I thought the Prussian guy played a really strong game too. I mean, they just kind of attritioned each other. I think that if the Ottoman, I think the Ottoman cav shouldn't have come over, but B, if it did, I think they should have been able to beat Zee. But the Ottoman guy, I think, played a fine game. I think Zee Bishop was a little reckless with moving all of his cav over to take out the French guy. I think you would probably agree with that. Like, I think this was a lot closer than it should have been. Like, he should have, after the house was taken and the first line of infantry was broken, with cav support, he could have just rolled up the Prussian guy, but his cav wasn't there because it was busy slaughtering Frenchmen, which is fine. But I think he could have rolled this guy, gave the Prussian guy a little bit of a second gasp of life, and then you follow that up with the Prussian guy didn't take advantage of that opportunity because he kept his 2 guard units way too far back, especially when the Ottoman cav showed up. I think the French player in the center really posed absolutely no threat to the team. Artillery isn't that big of a deal, and as we referenced, he was mostly shooting dirt. Actually, there's a big pile of corpses there. Yeah, this is the big pile of corpses of the horses. So, you know, the Austrian super overreacting. He could have just taken his time, man. I mean, the French guy probably should have just stayed in line and camped. That would have been his best hope in helping his team. If the Austrian guy just would have chilled, maybe sent a couple cav units over this direction, they could have rolled up, you know, left to right. I think the Austrian guy made the game a lot harder on himself than it should have been. I really like the game that the Spanish player played over here. He was just really patient. He recognized that his opponent got on the terrain feature first, waited him out. As soon as the Ottoman cav vacated the area, then he started putting his little assault together. He knew he had more men than the other guy. Maybe wasn't the most elegant attack, but hey, got the job done. He knew he could afford an attrition game. He had twice as many men, and this is the aftermath of it, right? So really solid game from the Spanish guy. You know, the Spanish cav got involved way over there. That's one of their flags, you know. So, you know, I think if I was the Ottoman player here, I wouldn't have sent all of my cav. In fact, if I was the Ottoman guy and I had the Spanish dude chilling, I would have seriously considered attacking off the hill. Now, I know what the line of thought the Ottoman guy was going through. He was like, well, I'm going to hold the hill, and then that's it. You know, the game is won for me, so I might as well send my cav to fight in another section of the field. Well, it's sort of like similar to pyramids. I mean, just because you get on the hill doesn't mean your opponent is forced to attack up it. You know, if you move all your cav and all of a sudden you give them a 2v1 manpower advantage, they're going to take it, right? So another option for the Ottoman was to attack down the hill. This guy had a ton of really badass cav. I would have really liked to see a fight where the Ottoman player comes down you know, maybe he does something good. You know, there's a few more options of how the Ottoman player, you know, where he devoted his units on the field, I think. Certainly I have to think that the movement of the Ottoman cav in the back was a failure. They got there too late to make a difference in a telling part of the battle, right? So, you know, if that's going to happen, your best option might be attacking off the hill, or maybe using that I don't know. The fight in the center was messy, so maybe that wouldn't have worked. But definitely interesting game. Like, there are a lot of different ways it could have gone. Zee Bishop was a little aggressive, maybe more aggressive than he should have been. I think if he would have stuck to his side of the map, he just completely crushes the Prussian guy in the end. He gave the Prussian guy some opportunities to pull it back. Prussian guy failed to achieve those. In the center, Austrian made it interesting by completely overreacting to the artillery. Should have handled that a lot more stoically. Maybe the behavior of the Spanish guy is what really did... Oh, man, I suck. You know, maybe the behavior of the Spanish guy is really what, from a behavioral perspective, turned the game over, because he encouraged the Ottoman guy to make a third of his army useless. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's the results screen. I'm not totally sure I got everybody with the right name lined up, but I thought it was a really great game. I thought everybody did at least a couple things great. And thanks for playing, guys. Thanks, Zee, for sending me the game. It was good to talk to you again. And thank you for watching. If you have an interesting game, by all means, send it to me. I believe the email address is sendmeyourreplays@gmail.com. I'm Jay Martin. Thanks for watching. Bye.